Hello, friends. We are interested in the geography of our views, so please like and write in the comments from which city are you watching us, and were there loud stories of betrayal in your city? Share your stories with us. Maybe the next betrayal story will be from your city. And we start. I dream that I am walking on a frozen lake. Underfoot, the transparent ice crackles menacingly, and black, cold water can be seen through it. In the distance on the shore, we vaguely make out someone's silhouette, reaching out to me and calling me. I understand that it's Alex, but for some reason I can't move. Panic is growing inside me. Suddenly, a loud crash is heard under my feet. The ice bursts, and I fall into the icy water. A frosty horror grips the body. The lungs burn from lack of air. I tried to scream, but instead of sound, bubbles burst out of my throat, rushing upward to where a dim light flickers through the thickness of the ice. I woke up abruptly. My heart is pounding so hard that blood is pulsing in my ears. I'm in our bedroom, warm, safe. It's still dark outside. It's early morning. Alex snores quietly next to him, hugging a pillow. I sit up, brushing damp strands from my forehead. Here we go again. How long can you suffer from these nightmares? I take a couple of deep breaths, trying to stop shaking. In the dream, everything was so real, fear and cold. But that's in the past, I tell myself. The past won't drag me down, won't drag me down. Alex snores quietly, and I stroke his shoulder, bringing my thoughts back to reality. It's morning, a new day is ahead. My loving husband is nearby, and inside me there is a new life. Everything is fine. I carefully climb out of bed and tiptoe to the bathroom. Turning on the light, I splash cold water on my face. The mirror reflects a pale figure with eyes widened from recent horror. I turn off the tap and just breathe deeply for a while, looking at my reflection. The dream gradually creeps away like a gloomy spider huddled in the corner of consciousness. I won't let the past destroy my present. Returning to the bedroom, I again climb under the warm blanket and press my back against Alex, catching the calmness from his even breathing. Slowly warming up with its warmth, I imperceptibly fall back into sleep. After a couple of hours, I am finally awakened by soft sunlight breaking through the translucent curtains. This time, the awakening is peaceful and quiet. Alex is no longer on the bed next to me. I hear the quiet clink of dishes in the kitchen and catch the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. A smile appears on my lips. He tries to make every morning special for me, especially now that I am expecting a child. Throwing on a light robe, I head towards the smell of coffee. Along the way, I involuntarily touch my small rounded belly with my hand. It's still unusual for me to realize that a new life is growing inside. The joy of this discovery is quiet and trembling, but anxiety is mixed with it like a thin ice crust under your feet. Happiness is like unsteady ice. I'm afraid that if I make a careless move, it will crack, dragging me under the water. Good morning, dear. Alex meets me at the threshold of the kitchen with a warm smile. He looks so calm and confident. His green eyes sparkle with concern as he quickly comes over and hugs me tenderly. Good, I answered, pressing my cheek to his shoulder. His hugs are reliable and warm. I close my eyes, trying to push away the shadow of worry. Now I should be happy. I should enjoy every moment. How did you sleep? Alex asks, stroking my back. His palm lingers on my waist a little longer than usual, as if he, too, does not fully believe that our happiness is real. Okay, the lie leaves my lips before I have time to think. In fact, my dream was disturbing, but I don't want to tell Alex about it. Why worry in vain? Besides, this is just a dream, nothing more. He kisses the top of my head and leads me to the table. An omelet with tomatoes and cheese is already steaming on a white plate, my favorite. Next to it is a glass of freshly squeezed orange juice. Alex tries to provide me and the baby with all the necessary vitamins in the morning. You take so much care of me, I say quietly, sitting down at the table. There is gratitude in the voice, and I sincerely feel it. Who would have thought that after everything that happened, I could live so calmly and feel safe? Alex sits down next to me and looks closely at my face. I quickly look away and take a sip of juice. Are you sure everything is fine, Soph? He touches my hand softly. You look a little tired. Didn't get enough sleep again. I nod, trying to smile more confidently. It's okay, just hormones, probably, I say casually, turning it into a joke. Pregnant brain, you know. I have strange dreams. Alex smiles knowingly and laughs lightly, squeezing my hand. Well, if you need anything, just tell me. I'm working from home today, so I'll be nearby. Get plenty of rest, okay? Okay, love, I answer, and for a moment a feeling of guilt tightens my chest like a ring. Why can't I share my anxiety with him? He deserves honesty. But next to him, my anxiety seems ghostly, melting in his warmth. And yet, as soon as I am left alone, the thoughts return. We have breakfast, exchanging short phrases about our plans for the day. I catch myself speaking mechanically, out of inertia. A wary silence settled inside. As soon as I close my eyes, I again feel an icy pang of fear for no apparent reason, as if the happiness I live is too fragile. After breakfast, Alex puts away the dishes, not allowing me to even lift the plate. He takes care of it. I watch him fondly from the living room. At some point, my gaze falls on a photograph on the wall. Alex and I last Christmas, smiles, lights, love and joy in our eyes. Then I was truly happy without looking back. Why is it that now, when our dream of a child is coming true, our hearts shrink from uninvited anxiety? Sophia, Alex's voice brings me out of my thoughts. He stands next to me, looking into my eyes. You're kind of quiet today. What are you thinking about? I wince. I was thinking too deeply and tried to collect my scattered thoughts. It's okay, really, I repeat a little more firmly and touch his hand. The warmth of his skin is soothing. Probably just a sleepwalking mood in the morning. He tilts his head to his shoulder, looking at me with a slight smile. Exactly. Otherwise, I know how much you love to screw yourself up. Maybe you can share what worries you. We're a team, remember? The tenderness in his voice brings tears to my eyes. I blink quickly, shooing them away. Alex is right. We are a team. He is always there. He has been there for the last 2 years, helping me forget what happened before, or rather, learn to live with it. I know, I whisper, hugging him. I feel the soft fabric of my shirt against my cheek and inhale the familiar smell of woody cologne. My reliable, loving husband. Thank you. He just hugs me tighter. I close my eyes. You need to let go of fear. The past should not affect what we have now. I mentally repeat this like a mantra, hoping sooner or later I will believe myself. The day passes relatively calmly. In the afternoon, Alex and I go to a scheduled appointment with the doctor. I lie on the couch, worried, as the doctor runs an ultrasound probe over my stomach. Alex holds my hand. His palm is warm and dry. I squeeze it a little tighter as the cold gel touches my skin. Now let's see your baby, the doctor says softly. Black and white blurry spots flash on the screen. At first nothing is clear, just chaos of shadows. I hold my breath, and suddenly the silence is filled with a quiet knocking, frequent, rhythmic. Is this a heart? I whisper almost silently. It's the same, the doctor smiles. I hear Alex exhale next to me, as if he, too, had been holding air all this time. The heart is beating evenly, everything is fine. Tears well up in my eyes. It's like a miracle to hear the little heart beating inside you. I steal a glance at Alex. He watches the screen, fascinated, as if he sees not vague contours, but real magic. Then he notices my gaze and leans over, kissing my forehead and whispering, "This is our miracle." The period is about 14 weeks, says the doctor, making notes. Development corresponds to the norm. How are you feeling, Sophia? Okay, I answer, wiping the corners of my eyes. I get a little tired quickly, but overall it's fine. It's natural, the doctor nods. Get more rest, eat right. The baby looks great. After the examination, we leave the office, and Alex immediately hugs me, pressing me gently like a crystal vase. Thank you, I whisper, smiling through happy tears. For what? He looks at me in surprise. For the fact that we are together. For our miracle. I put his palm on my stomach. and for believing in me even when I doubt it myself. He runs his thumb gently over my skin, over the top of my dress, where the little life lies beneath. I will always believe in you, Soph, he answers quietly, and in us. At this moment, I realize how lucky I am. 2 years ago, I could not have imagined that I would find such happiness again. Then, experiencing my tragedy, I was broken. But Alex, he reached out into the darkness and pulled me out. We met at a charity event where at first I didn't want to go. Emily pushed me out of the house, deciding it was time to unwind. I was standing in the corner with a glass of water, feeling out of place, when a tall, green-eyed man approached me and awkwardly asked if it was my purse, which he found at the counter. The purse really turned out to be mine. I forgot it somewhere. That's how the conversation started. Alex was discreet, very tactful. Having learned that I was the editor of a publishing house, he was sincerely interested. He himself worked as a lawyer and was far from the world of books, but as it turned out, he dreamed of writing a children's fairy tale and did not know how to approach it. That evening, we talked for 2 hours. I was surprised at how easy it was to get along with him, although after what happened with Ryan, I avoided men and had no intention of meeting anyone. But Alex had so much warmth and calm confidence that I myself didn't notice how I started laughing at his jokes and even flirting a little. He didn't press, didn't pry into my soul with questions. We exchanged phone numbers on his initiative, and the next day he sent an SMS with an offer to meet for coffee. I remember how I hesitated. My soul still aches after the betrayal, although almost 6 months had passed. But something told me to take a risk, and I'm glad I listened. Our journey began with that coffee. Alex surrounded me with care, but unobtrusively. It was as if he sensed my every mental storm and gently helped me through it. I didn't tell him about the past right away, only when I realized that I was truly falling in love and there should be no secrets between us. That night I cried on his shoulder, laying out everything, about Ryan and about the betrayal and about the baby I lost. Alex was silent, only hugging her tighter. And then he said that if he could, he would take all my pain for himself, as long as I smiled. Now, looking at him in the hospital corridor, I see a man who did the impossible. He patched up my wounded soul with love and patience. I have no right to doubt my happiness. He winks cheerfully. Looks like we're going to have a big shopping spree. We'll soon have to update your wardrobe for your growing belly. I laughed through my tears. Yes, perhaps. And this is a great reason to stop trying to fit into old jeans. We walk down the corridor hand in hand. I stealthily run my finger over the cold metal of the wedding ring on my finger, our symbol of eternity. Alex put it on me a year ago, the day we became husband and wife. Happiness spreads in your chest like a warm wave from the ultrasound, from the presence of your loved one. But a shadow stirred in the corner of my consciousness. Will I be able to always be honest with him? I banished this thought. I had no reason to lie to him, until today. But in the evening, everything will change, although I don't know about it yet. 3 years ago, I was a completely different person, naive, in love with a dream, living one day at a time. That's when Ryan came into my life. I first saw him at a small concert in a basement on Brooklyn Street. I remember how the dim light fell on the stage, snatching a figure with a guitar from the darkness. His voice husky, deep, filled the hall, and I got goosebumps. I stood in the crowd, spellbound. It seemed as if no one else existed around, just him and the music flowing through him. After the performance, I couldn't resist the emotions that his performance and voice stirred up in me were too strong. I walked towards the bar, where he stood with his elbow on the counter, surrounded by laughter and conversation. His voice was low, enveloping like the chords of his guitar, and he was talking to one of the musicians, slightly shaking a glass in his hand, in which there was a dark drink, the color of which resembled brown amber. My heart was pounding, as if it was going to jump out of my chest, and my fingers were trembling slightly when, overcoming my uncertainty, I dared to touch his shoulder warm, tense under the thin fabric of his shirt. You played great, I exhaled. The words came out in a hoarse whisper, and I felt my face instantly flush with a hot blush. I really liked it. Ryan turned around, and for a moment everything around him seemed to freeze. I drowned in his gaze, that same daring, enchanting pair of blue eyes in which irrepressible energy sparkled, like in electric discharges before a thunderstorm. He smiled, the corners of his lips lifted slightly, revealing snow-white teeth, and there was something at once boyish and disarmingly sincere in this smile. "Is it true?" "Good to hear," he said, tilting his head slightly, setting the glass down on the bar counter. His fingers were long and strong-knuckled, and he moved with the same confidence with which he held a guitar. "I'm Ryan." "Sophia," I answered, feeling my voice almost betraying the trembling inside. I tried to maintain the appearance of calm, but my legs gave way a little, like a person standing on the edge of a cliff. "Well, Sophia," he said, taking half a step closer to drown out the noise of the bar filled with music, laughter, and loud voices, "can I buy you a drink as a token of gratitude for your nice review?" I nodded silently, not trusting my voice. It seemed that this whole evening had been a dream, and I was afraid to frighten him off with a careless word. A minute later, a tall glass of cocktail appeared in front of me, a delicate pinkish hue, decorated with a bright red cherry on a long skewer. The glass fogged up from the coolness, and drops of moisture rolled down its sides like dew. I don't drink strong alcohol usually, but then I would have taken the poison from his hands and not noticed. He looked at me with a raised eyebrow, as if he was wondering if I would like the choice. I took the glass and took a sip. The cocktail was tart, with a subtle sweetness, and it left a slight tingle on my tongue. We started talking. It all started with music. He told how he first picked up a guitar at the age of 10, how he secretly played at night while his parents were sleeping. His voice came alive when he talked about the stage, about jazz improvisations, about the strange clubs in which he performed. I shared my favorite performers, and he nodded, jumping up in his chair when we found common idols. Then we started talking about New York, a city that simultaneously beckons and exhausts, about how endless traffic jams can destroy any inspiration, but how you just need to walk through evening Brooklyn and your heart is filled with dreams again. We talked about the noise of the subway, about the coffee shops on the corner where the barista remembers your order, and about the endless stream of faces you pass by every day, not noticing until suddenly someone meets your eye. He turned out to be an amazing conversationalist. Not just witty, he caught my thoughts on the fly, complimented, developed, and made me laugh. At times it seemed to me that we were conducting some kind of subtle dance, not physical, but verbal, intellectual, as if we were improvising a duet on stage without rehearsal, but in perfect rhythm. After an hour, I felt like I had known him all my life. It seemed that in this noisy, pulsating city, full of bustle and chance meetings, I suddenly stumbled upon something real, warm, and incredibly personal. His voice, his laugh, his way of looking into the eyes without looking away, all this pierced my heart like notes into a score. And at that moment, when he leaned over and raised his hand to my face to push back an unruly strand of hair, I realized, this evening will stay with me forever. That night, we walked across the Manhattan Bridge, although the cold October wind was blowing, chilling to the bone. The air smelled damp and metallic, and somewhere below the dark water of the East River splashed, reflecting the flickering light from the bridge lamps. Cars rushed past, leaving dull trails of sound behind them, and the stars were barely visible in the sky, timid, like our feeling at that time. I chillily wrapped myself in his leather jacket, which he threw over my shoulders. The warmth still retained his scent: tobacco, mint, and the subtle aroma of his perfume, which always made the heart beat faster. "Cold?" Ryan asked, tilting his head towards me. His voice, low and slightly hoarse, sounded especially comfortable against the background of the piercing wind. "A little, but it's warmer with you," I smiled, snuggling closer to him. He responded with a wide smile, and in his eyes there was that same light that I began to recognize: inspiration. Ryan spoke with inspiration about the songs he wants to write, about the upcoming tour, about how music is not just a matter of life, but his soul, his essence. "You see," he said, gesturing with his hands, as if drawing sound waves in the air, "I want every word to be real, not just for the sake of rhyming, but to live it." Here, for example, is the line, October on the bridge, you're in my jacket, and I'm not afraid of the cold, but of loss. How do you like it? Beautiful, and a little scary, I answered quietly, almost in a whisper. It feels like you're taking it out of your heart right now. He fell silent for a second, looked at me seriously, and suddenly stopped. You're special, he said, as if it were a revelation, something he finally understood. It's easy with you, as if we've known each other for 100 years. My heart skipped a beat. I lowered my gaze, embarrassed by such directness, feeling hot color spreading across my cheeks. The stars must have aligned today, I tried to joke, but my voice trembled treacherously. He gently took my chin. His fingers were warm, almost burning. Not stars, he said quietly, approaching. It's just you. And he kissed me. His kiss was warm, with a hint of smoke and mint. My head began to spin, and the world around me ceased to exist, just us, the bridge, the wind, and this feeling of something great that was about to begin. This is how our story began. After that night on the bridge, we became inseparable. Our romance developed rapidly, like a hurricane, swift and blinding. I spent every free moment with Ryan, rushing after work to his rehearsals in the basement of the old church, where the cracked walls echoed with every note he played. Listen to how it sounds, he said, looking up at me from behind the guitar. This part is about us. Can you hear? Of course I hear, I smiled, pressing my palm to his shoulder. It sounds like your look that night. In the evenings, I came to his tiny apartment on the outskirts of Brooklyn. It was a cramped space with peeling walls, but so cozy. There was always a cup of half-drunk coffee on the windowsill, a stack of notebooks with poems in the corner, and an old world map with marks of places where he dreamed of performing on the wall. He often composed music on the go, sitting on a windowsill overlooking the lights of the city at night. His silhouette in the twilight, illuminated only by a dim lamp and light from the street, seemed almost unreal. Sometimes I'm scared, he suddenly said one day, plucking the strings. All this, you, music, the future. What if I ruin everything? I walked up and hugged him from behind, pressing my cheek against his back. We can both mess up, but together we have a chance, not to get lost. He silently took my hand and pressed it to his chest. Then promise that if I ever forget what all this is for, you'll remind me. Play the song, or show me that bridge. I nodded, smiling through my tears. I promise. Sometimes he would sing melodies to me without words and say, "This is for you, Soph." From these words, everything inside froze with happiness. It seemed that just a little more and my heart would fly out of my chest like a bird. Ryan made me feel alive, as if my life had been half asleep before him. We laughed and fooled around like children. One rainy night, he suddenly dragged me out into the pouring rain to dance in the middle of an empty street. I squealed from surprise and cold, but he circled me, raising splashes from the puddles. Then we, wet, ran home and warmed up for a long time with hot tea with rum and each other under the same blanket. At such moments, it seemed to me that I had found my eternal happiness. Of course, the mind sometimes tries to object. Ryan was a musician who lived for the moment. There was barely enough money to make ends meet. The future was unclear. Sometimes he could suddenly go to another city for a couple of days on business or play a concert, leaving me with vague explanations. He had many acquaintances, including female fans who hovered around after performances. But as soon as he looked at me with that same loving gaze or touched my hand, all doubts receded. I believed his every word, reveled in every manifestation of love. One time, this is what happened. Late on a Thursday evening, he suddenly called excitedly and said that he had to leave immediately for the weekend, as if the opportunity had come up to open for a famous band in Boston. This puzzled me. We had planned to spend that weekend together, and I had already bought groceries to cook dinner for us. I tried to object, saying, "How can this be?" But he interrupted with vehemence. "Honey, this is a chance. I'll come back on Monday and tell you everything, okay? Don't be angry." The conversation was short. Left with the buzzing phone in my hand, I felt a bitter aftertaste. This was the first time our plans were canceled on his initiative, and so suddenly. Emily then frowned. "I don't like this," she muttered. But I decided not to make hasty conclusions. Ryan actually returned 3 days later and brought me a teddy bear with the inscription as a gift. Boston, and excitedly told how great the concert was, how warmly it was received. He was so happy and full of energy that I forgot the insult. Or maybe she just tried to forget, convincing herself that supporting his dream was more important than a momentary whim to spend a weekend together. My best friend Emily once gently asked me if I was overly idealizing Ryan. I remember we were sitting with her in a small cafe not far from my office. I couldn't stop smiling as I stirred my latte with a spoon because the day before Ryan had dedicated a new tune to me. Emily listened to my breathless stories about how talented and caring he is, and suddenly she gently interrupted. "Soph, don't be offended. Are you sure you're not idealizing Ryan too much? After all, you know each other for nothing, but you're already head over heels." I stared at her, confused. "Emily, you should listen to how he sings, how he speaks." I began, but she raised her palm, stopping the flow of my delight. "I'm glad, honestly, very glad that you're beaming with happiness," she said softly. "But I'm just worried. You hardly know him. Musicians, they are all a little." She hesitated, looking for a word. "Windy," I grinned. "Do you want to say unreliable?" Emily shrugged. "There is such a cliché, yes. Plus, well, I saw how this relationship affected you. It's like you're on a roller coaster. Sometimes you're in seventh heaven, sometimes you have doubts. I'm just worried that you won't get hurt." Irritation rose within me. Of course, she wished me well, but no one knows him like I do, I said firmly. "We are connected, Emily. It's hard to explain, but I feel like it's mine." The friend smiled sadly. Okay. Sorry if I offended you. Just be careful, okay? "Don't worry about me," I waved it off, although an unpleasant aftertaste remained. "Everything will be fine with us." Emily didn't bring it up again, seeing how I blossomed at the mere mention of his name. I was completely blinded by love. It seemed that I was the heroine of a film where it was just him and me, and we were not afraid of any problems. But the fairy tale was not destined to last forever. One evening, after about 6 months of our relationship, a turning point occurred. That day, Ryan was scheduled to have a big concert at one of the clubs in Manhattan. As always, I was going to come and support him. We agreed to meet backstage after the performance. I arrived a little earlier. The full hall was buzzing with impatience while the group was tuning their instruments. My heart was beating fast. I was always nervous about it before going on stage, wanting everything to go perfectly. When Ryan took the stage, the audience erupted in applause. I crept closer, trying to be where he could see me. At one point, during a lyrical ballad, he actually caught my gaze from under his forehead. His voice flowed softly and soulfully, and it seemed to me that he was singing for me alone. My heart was filled with pride and love. At the end of the concert, he took the microphone and, with a cheerful wink at the audience, announced, "I dedicate this final song to the person who has given me inspiration lately." My heart sank. I knew it was about me. The melody burst from the guitar strings, energetic and bright, and I listened with bated breath and smiling so widely that my cheeks ached. When the final chord sounded, the audience seemed to not believe it for a moment, and then burst into cries of delight. People stood up, applauded, and demanded bis. I almost burst with pride for him. The concert was an incredible success. Ryan and the guys played with a bang. The audience chanted for an encore, and I was beaming with happiness. After the final bow, I hurried backstage, holding a bottle of his favorite cola. He didn't drink alcohol during sets, so as not to lose concentration. Behind the stage there was twilight. Only the duty lights were on here and there. I squeezed between the equipment and the scurrying staff until I heard Ryan's familiar laugh. A joyful smile bloomed on my face. Here he is, my hero of the evening. Now I'll throw myself on his neck and congratulate him. But Ryan's voice was mixed with another female, low and hoarse from cigarettes. I froze behind the speaker, not a few steps away from them. My heart suddenly ached with a feeling of foreboding. "You were fired today, honey," a female voice cooed. "Simply enchanting. Maybe we should celebrate this with me. Do you think I deserve a reward?" Ryan grinned playfully. "What are you suggesting, kitty?" I was covered in cold from head to toe. Two figures emerged from the darkness. Ryan, disheveled after the concert, and a girl in a tight dress, his hand resting loosely on her waist. She pressed her chest against him, looking up with loving eyes. "Well, I have champagne hidden," she purred and reached for his neck, clearly intending to kiss him. The cola bottle slipped from my hand and hit the concrete floor with a thud. Ryan turned around sharply at the noise. Our eyes met. My heart seemed to break at that moment. "Sophia." He exhaled, moving away from the girl. His face turned white. "What? What's going on here?" My voice trembled. My throat was so tight that every phrase was difficult. I wanted to believe that this was some kind of ridiculous misunderstanding, a play of shadows. The girl looked from me to him in confusion, slowly removing his hand from her waist. "Who is it, Ryan?" she asked warily, frowning her thin eyebrows. He blinked, seeming to be just now coming to his senses. I was waiting hoping that he would say, "It's not what you thought," or at least push this girl away from him. But he just ran his hand through his hair in a nervous gesture. "This is Sophia," he finally squeezed out, avoiding meeting my gaze. "My friend. Girlfriend." My temples began to pound from humiliation and pain. I felt my face burning. "So, just a friend? After everything that happened between us?" Seriously? Tears rang in my voice, but I restrained myself so as not to burst into tears. "Girlfriend?" Ryan stepped towards me, holding out his hand as if to reassure me. "Soft, listen. This is not like you." He began, but I backed away. "Don't you dare touch me." It burst out louder than I expected. In the depths of the club, someone turned around at our scream, but I didn't care. I saw everything. "Baby, come on," he lowered his voice, as if taming a wild animal. "You know, I'm on edge after concerts. It's just a game, non-binding flirting. You are more important than all of them." I looked at him in shock. Does he really think that now, after what he has seen, all he needs to do is smile so disarmingly and everything will be as before? "Flirting," I repeated bitterly. "So it's normal to paw the first person you meet backstage, while I run to you with a gift and am proud of you like an idiot." "SHH, calm down," he tried to reason, looking around to see if anyone was listening. "I told you it doesn't mean anything." "For you, maybe it's nothing," I hissed, feeling hot tears welling up in my eyes. "And for me, have you thought about how I, your friend, feel?" Meanwhile, the girl quietly retreated, disappearing into the shadows of the corridor. Her presence no longer mattered. There was only Ryan, the man to whom I gave my heart, and who was now mercilessly trampling it. He stepped closer and tried to take me by the shoulders, but I pushed his hand away. "Forgive me, do you hear?" he said hastily, looking into my face with agony. "I didn't mean to. It's just adrenaline. I was making a stupid joke. She means nothing to me, I swear." "Do you swear?" I smiled bitterly through my tears. "How can I trust you now, Ryan? Have you? Have you been lying to me this whole time?" "No," he blurted out, covering his eyes with his hand for a moment. "No, I love you, honestly. It's just that sometimes damn it, I don't know what came over me." He looked lost, like a boy realizing the consequences of his pranks for the first time. But I didn't want to feel sorry for him. "You don't know," I echoed. "I know. You betrayed me." Tears flowed down my cheeks, hot and salty. I wiped them with a trembling hand. "Sophia." He tried to approach again, but I retreated another step. "Don't you dare," I whispered. Everything inside was burning with pain and rage. "Don't come closer. I I don't want to see you." He froze, extending his hand into the void between us. Despair splashed in his eyes. "Please listen. This doesn't mean anything. Well, I'm a fool, a fool." His voice broke. For a moment I felt sorry for him, sorry for our love, which he so stupidly destroyed. But I just shook my head, retreating even further. You said it all yourself, I whispered. It doesn't mean anything. Apparently, I don't mean anything to you either. Before he could answer, I turned around and rushed away from the stuffy twilight of the backstage, away from this betrayal. Behind me, I heard him shout my name, but I didn't stop. That night I cried, it seems, until dawn. Running home, it was as if I automatically closed all the locks and slid down the door to the floor. The sobs shook me so much that my breath was taken away. It seemed as if a black hole had formed inside, sucking in all my happiness, all my faith. Ryan called and the phone was ringing off the hook, but I didn't answer. He knocked on my apartment door an hour after I ran away. I sat on the other side, covering my mouth with my hand so as not to give myself away by sobbing. I heard him begging to open, saying through the door, "I'm sorry. Please, let's talk." But I couldn't. I didn't want to see him. I was afraid that in my weakness I would forgive him right away, as soon as I looked into those madly beloved eyes. And I shouldn't have forgiven. Not after this. He left without waiting for an answer. In the morning, I found a crumpled piece of paper torn from a notebook under the door. With trembling hands, she lifted and smoothed the paper. It was hastily scrawled, "I'm leaving for a couple of concerts. I'll give you time. Sorry, R." Just a few words. Give me time, sorry. My heart sank with resentment. He didn't even stay to try to fix everything in earnest. He chose to run away. The following days merged into a single gray lump. I walked around like a ghost. I took time off from work. Emily brought me food, forced me to take at least a couple sips of broth. It was as if I had forgotten how to live. She constantly looked at the phone, but Ryan didn't call anymore. Apparently, he decided that he would not be forgiven. A week after that fateful night, I noticed that I still hadn't gotten my period. At first, I didn't attach any importance to its stress, you never know. But time passed and nothing happened. I started having nausea in the morning. An alarming feeling crept into my soul. The test I bought at the pharmacy literally burned in my palms while I waited for the stripes to appear. Two bright stripes. I am pregnant. From Ryan. I was shaking as I sat on the cold tile floor of the bathroom, hugging my knees to my chest. What to do? What should I do? The numbness gave way to a flash of joy. I will have a child from my beloved. Immediately, the joy gave way to despair. I am alone. 1. Several times I dialed Ryan's number, but failed before getting through to the call. He chose to leave, stubbornness told me. But the truth was that I longed to hear his voice. Tell him about the baby. Finally, plucking up the courage, I called. The beeps dragged on for an excruciatingly long time. Finally, the answering machine happily announced, "The subscriber is temporarily unavailable." I called Jim, the drummer of their band, whom I knew a little. He confirmed, yes, Ryan went to Chicago on tour, said that he did not know when he would return, and there was really no contact with him. I sank onto the sofa, pressing the phone tightly to my ear, although the conversation had already ended. Left. Doesn't know when he'll return. The tears dried up, there was nothing left to cry. Now it was not just about my broken heart, but also about the little life inside me. I put my hand on my stomach. Life had barely begun, but I already felt, this is my child, our child. Despite everything that happened, I had a goal to carry and give birth to a baby. Even if Ryan doesn't come back, even if he never finds out, this will be a piece of him that will stay with me forever, and a piece of my love, albeit deceived. So another month passed. Physically, I felt terrible, constant nausea, dizziness. Morally, she held on with all her strength, clinging to the thought of a future child. Emily was there, supporting as best she could, although I did not immediately admit to her who the father was. She guessed, of course, but wisely did not intrude with questions. One evening, I felt a sharp pain in my lower abdomen. Weak at first, but growing. I was lying on the sofa, trying to catch my breath. The pain did not go away. When I stood up, I suddenly realized that something was wrong. Warm water flowed down my legs. Looking down, I saw scarlet drops on the floor. I was seized by a chilling horror. No, no, not this, I muttered, rushing to the phone. My hands were shaking when I dialed 911. Everything was confirmed at the hospital. The doctors said something about extreme stress, that this happens sometimes. I almost didn't hear them. The world swam before my eyes. My child, our child, he was no longer there. Of course. Here's an extended excerpt in which I kept all the emotional mood and logic of the story, adding new details and smoothly weaving in information about the news that Sophie learns later. Emily flew to the hospital as soon as she found out and never left my side. She held my hand tightly while the doctors coldly stated what had happened. I remember how her fingers trembled, how tears glistened in her eyes, which she tried to hold back for my sake. Soft, dear, she just whispered from time to time, stroking my hand. I'm here, I'm with you. I was silent, looking at one point. There was emptiness inside. It was as if something had been uprooted, leaving only a gaping hole. Emily held my hand as I lay on the cold couch under the bright neon lights. I didn't cry. The tears seemed to have been burned to the ground along with my soul. I looked at the ceiling and felt like an empty shell. Everything I loved was gone. Ryan left me, and the baby, my last hope, also left. Ryan never found out that we could have had a child. And what would it change? He has already become the past, a painful thorn that left a scar on his heart. This is how my story with him ended. The one who did not become forever in my life left behind only fragments, and every time I looked at them, I promised myself that I would never. I never allow myself to lose my head and heart like that. And then the news came. I found out about this by chance, overhearing one of Emily's colleagues discussing over a cup of coffee in the staff room. Did you hear? Ryan is getting married. Yes, on that girl. What's her name? Chris, I think. She is pregnant with him. These words flashed through my mind like a flash of pain. It was as if I was once again under that merciless neon, only now the emptiness was filled with bitterness. He knew he could be a father, but not from me. His choice was made, and he walked down a different road with another woman, not knowing that one day he could become the father of another child. Mine. I sat in silence while something broke inside, but on the surface the same mask of indifference remained. My heart beat dull and slow, as if under a layer of ice, and yet, at that moment I realized, this is the bottom. But perhaps, by pushing off from him, I will someday be able to emerge. Several quiet years have passed. Life went on as usual. Work, evenings with Alex, discussing names for the baby. It even began to seem to me that the anxiety had subsided. The past gradually faded, turning into a distant shadow. But one afternoon my phone vibrated, notifying me of a new message. I quickly unlocked the screen, expecting to see the usual correspondence with a friend or a reminder about a doctor's appointment. However, when I saw the sender's name, I froze. The screen showed Ryan. It was as if an invisible ice wave had covered my head. My heart immediately started racing, my blood pounding in my ears. For several seconds, I just looked at this name, unable to press it. Finally, with a trembling finger, she opened the message. Just a couple of sentences, but each one burned my eyes like a neon sign in the night. Hello, Sophia. This is Ryan. I'm in New York for a short time. I really want to see you. I know it's been years, but I really need to talk to you. Can you meet? I reread these lines 5 times, trying to grasp reality. Ryan is here in New York. I want to see you. I really need to talk to you. For what? Why, after so many years, bring up the past? My hands were sweating. I mechanically wiped my palms on my jeans. Everything was mixed inside anger, fear, painful melancholy, which I had been pushing deep inside for so long. His shadow, the shadow of that damn SMS fell again on my seemingly calm life. I got up from the chair and began to randomly walk around the room. 1,000 thoughts were pounding in my head. The first reaction is to delete the message, erase the number, and forget as if nothing happened. I already did this once, right? I forced myself to forget him, crossed him out of my life. But it turned out that not completely. As soon as Ryan's name appeared on the screen again, The wound in his heart ached painfully, as if it had been opened anew. I wanted to scream from confusion, from sudden resentment and joy. Yes, somewhere a deeply hidden spark of joy still smoldered. He's alive, he's fine, and he remembered me. I sank onto the sofa, staring at the phone. Should I answer or not? If I answer, what should I say? Get out of my life? Or vice versa? Hello? As if nothing had happened? Both options seemed ridiculous. Everything is fine. Alex's voice suddenly rang out behind me. I jumped up, almost dropping my phone. Alex stood on the threshold of the living room, looking at me with slight concern. I probably looked confused and pale. Yes, yes, I lied, squeezing the phone in my hand. It's just... A strange message came. He stepped closer, looking over my shoulder. I hastily turned off the screen. Something from work. He asked with sympathy. Is the boss again bothering you at inopportune hours? No, not the boss. I shook my head, trying to smile. One friend. Old news. It's clear. Well, if anything happens, don't worry about it, okay? You shouldn't worry. Alex gently touched my cheek and smiled too. Everything will be fine. His kindness made my insides clench. I nodded and said, Of course I won't. Everything is fine. He went back to the office, and I sat motionless for a long time, looking at the dark screen. Remove, delete, forget it would seem that this is the best solution. But have I known peace all these years? In the depths of my soul, there smoldered an unanswered question. Why? Why did he do this? Why did he just disappear? Could this meeting finally give me closure? And before I realized what I was doing, I typed a response. Fingers nervously slid over the phone keypad. Hello? I wasn't expecting your message. When do you want to meet? Send. My heart began to beat even harder. What am I doing? A minute later, the answer came, as if he was waiting on the other end. Maybe tonight, if you can. I will be glad to help you any time, at your convenience. Tonight. I felt a lump forming in my throat. Today, so I'll have to tell Alex. No, not the truth, he won't understand the truth. And how can I myself explain why I am going to this meeting? We need to come up with something convincing. The lie cut through my consciousness like a dull knife. I have never deceived Alex in all the time we have been together, and now I'm going to lie. For whom? For the sake of the man who once already destroyed me. But something stronger than reason drove me forward. I need to do this. We need an ending to this story to let go of the past once and for all. I took a deep breath and headed towards Alex's office. He sat at his laptop, typing intently. Hearing my steps, he raised his head and immediately smiled. Have you chewed the news? He joked, referring to his imaginary girlfriend. Yes, sort of. I tried to look casual. Listen, darling, I need to leave here in the evening. Emily asked for help. The name Emily rolled off the tongue, naturally, apparently, the first plausible excuse. Alex raised his eyebrows. Did something happen? She has. Personal things, I hastily added, avoiding his gaze. I can't tell you, you understand. But we really need to support her. Maybe I'll stay with her for the night. She is in serious condition. The cats were scratching my soul. I felt my cheeks treacherously burning. But Alex, of course, did not suspect anything like that. He nodded immediately, ready to help. Certainly. Poor Emily. Go, support her as much as necessary. Maybe I should give her something. Food, medicine. No, no, everything is there, I muttered, feeling even more insignificant. Thank you. You know, I'm always for it. He stood up and hugged me, lightly patting me on the back. Don't overexert yourself there, okay? You're not alone now. He carefully touched my stomach. I closed my eyes. God, what a disgusting person I am. Everything inside was screaming with shame, but it was too late to retreat. I'll be careful, I promise, I answered quietly. When I left the office, my heart was still beating like crazy. It was necessary to act before determination gave way to panic. The first thing I did was write a message to Emily. Emily, hi. If Alex calls, tell him I'm with you. I'll explain later. Please. The answer came almost instantly, as if she was already holding the phone in her hands. What? What's happened? Are you okay? I bit my lip, rushing to type the answer. Everything is fine. Just cover for me, okay? Please, this is important. Several agonizing seconds passed, then the following appeared on the screen. Okay, but then you'll tell me everything, okay? Relief washed over us for a moment. Emily, although alarmed, agreed. She has been my reliable friend since my student days and has always stood up for me. Of course, she was worried that I was suddenly asking her to lie to my husband, and I knew that it wouldn't be easy to explain everything later. But now the main thing is to avoid unnecessary suspicion. I left a short one. I promise I'll explain everything later, and put the phone away. The next hour passed in fussy preparations. I rushed around the apartment, throwing my wallet, phone, and charger into my bag. I found myself having no idea what to wear. It was funny, like I was going on a date. I ended up wearing simple jeans and a soft sweater to keep me comfortable. My gaze fell on the wedding ring in my hand. My heart ached. I slowly took off the ring and placed it on the dressing table. Somehow it didn't seem right to take him with me to where I was going, as if I had no right to be someone's wife now. Soon I was leaving the entrance, feeling my knees shaking. Dusk was gathering over Manhattan, the sky was leaden. The lights of the evening city flashed past the taxi window. Somewhere in the distance, the advertising signs of Times Square shimmered, but here, in the business district, people hurried to their homes or errands, hunched over their phones, wrapped in scarves. Passers-by flashed along the sidewalks, hurrying to find shelter from the chilly November wind. We were crossing the Manhattan Bridge. In the opening panorama, the lights of Brooklyn shone with a scattering of stars. I automatically looked towards the pedestrian part of the bridge, the same one that Ryan and I had once walked along on our first night. Then a cold wind also blew, but I didn't care. I was warmed by his presence and love. Now I only felt a chill, and it was not at all from the dampness of the air. A ballad was playing softly on the radio, the singer howling about lost love. I snorted to myself. It was too on topic. The driver, not paying attention to the passenger in the back seat, hummed the tune under his breath. It seemed to me that every note scratched a bare nerve. The phone shook in my hand, along with the shaking of the car on the rough road. I looked at the display. The address Ryan had sent was flashing on the screen. How symbolic that he made an appointment at a small bar in Brooklyn, almost where it all began. I exhaled, trying to calm my racing heart. Dozens of questions flashed through my head. Why am I going? What do I expect from this meeting? And what does he want? The answers lay hidden in the semi-darkness of the coming evening, like secrets yet to be discovered. The car stopped. "We've arrived," said the driver. I paid and left. In front of me, a neon bar sign glowed dimly, half worn out by time. A dim light flickered behind the doors. Somewhere inside, perhaps, he was already waiting. My heart skipped a beat. I took a step towards the entrance, feeling my knees shaking. Inhale, exhale. "Don't fail, ice," I whispered under my breath, remembering the morning metaphor about fragile happiness. And she went inside. The thick smell of beer mixed with cheap tobacco smoke hit my nose. Apparently, someone was smoking at the back entrance, and the ventilation pulled the smell inside. The bar was shabby, with shabby leather sofas and a counter above which neon tubes glowed dimly. The music was humming quietly in the corner. An old machine was playing a blues tune. There were almost no people, only a couple at the counter and a group of 4 people in the back, laughing loudly. For a second, I wanted to turn around and leave, but I forced myself to take a few steps forward. In the twilight of the bar, my eyes immediately found him. Ryan sat at a table in the corner, illuminated by the soft golden light of a lampshaded lamp. My heart pounded painfully in my chest. Here he was, almost the same as in my memories. The same tousled chestnut cowlick on his forehead, the same leather jacket now with noticeable scuffs. He looked older. His cheekbones were sharper, his lips had thin lines. But the eyes, as soon as he looked up and met me, I recognized those eyes instantly. Blue as the summer sky, now they glowed with uncertain hope. Sophia. He stood up, a little hesitantly. His voice was almost lost in the noise of the bar, but it sounded clear to me. I stopped, not knowing what to do. Hug, give me a hand, smile. My throat is dry. It seemed like an eternity passed before I found the strength to speak. Hello, Ryan. My own voice sounded quiet. I stepped closer. He suppressed the impulse to rush towards me. I noticed how he barely twitched, but restrained himself. Instead, he gently touched my hand, slightly squeezing my fingers. From this fleeting touch, everything turned upside down inside. Thank you for coming, he said softly. I was afraid you wouldn't want to see me. I let out a nervous laugh. Honestly, I don't even know why I came. His lips twitched in the shadow of a smile. He nodded, lowering his gaze. Deserved it, he said quietly. We fell silent awkwardly. I looked around. The bar was half empty, but noisy somewhere a group was laughing. Quiet music was playing. In this commotion, it was difficult to start a frank conversation. Maybe we can go out for a bit, Ryan suggested, nodding towards the door. It's stuffy here. Come on, I agreed with relief. We went outside. New York at night greeted us with noise and coolness. I took a deep breath, as if I had emerged from underwater. The street smelled of exhaust fumes and distantly roasted chestnuts from the cart on the corner, but after the stuffy bar, this air seemed healing. Ragged clouds quickly ran across the sky, revealing the dim moon for moments. I automatically pulled my coat tighter around me. Autumn was coming into its own, bringing winter closer. There's a quiet park nearby. Shall we go for a walk? Ryan suggested. I nodded silently. We walked side by side along the sidewalk, leaving the neon oasis of the bar behind. We just walked in silence for a few seconds. I furtively glanced at him. He was absorbed in himself, his hands in his pockets, his eyebrows knitted together. He also seemed to be trying to find words. Finally, he spoke first. You look good, almost unchanged. I snorted. 3 years after all. And she added a little more quietly. You look good too. He grinned out of the corner of his mouth, casting a quick glance at me. I was afraid you'd hit me right away when we met. The evening is not over yet, I answered with an attempt at a joke, although there was bitterness in my voice. Did you miss me? As if 3 years of melancholy, worries, and fears could fit into one word. I'm used to it. Ryan nodded, accepting the barb. We turned into a small park where the noise of the city receded. Lanterns flashed between the trees, casting flickering spots of light onto the paths. Somewhere, fallen leaves rustled under the steps of rare passers-by. The noise of cars could be heard from a distance, but here, among the sleeping trees, the city seemed to have retreated. I felt chills, either from the cold or from tension. Sophia. He finally began, stopping under an old maple tree. His face was half hidden by shadow, half illuminated by a trembling lantern. I've probably replayed this meeting in my head 1,000 times. And now I don't know where to start. I stopped too, crossing my arms over my chest as if trying to defend myself. Start with the truth, I said quietly. Why did you call me? Why now? He sighed, lowering his head. Because I couldn't do otherwise, he said hoarsely. Believe me, I thought for a long time, and I decided that if I don't try to talk to you now, I will regret it all my life. I was silent, feeling how something inside me had subtly cracked under his words. The words, all my life, stung painfully. Talk about what? I asked, maintaining external calm. 3 years have passed. It's too late to discuss anything. Ryan narrowed his eyes and looked into my eyes. 3 years have passed, and I haven't lived a day without thinking about you. It took my breath away. I took a step back as if I had been struck. Was he thinking about me? Not a day. No, I exhaled sharply. Don't say that. Why? He stepped towards me, his eyes flashing in the twilight. Because it hurts you to listen, or because you don't believe? Because... I stopped short, unable to find words. Just don't. It won't change anything. He ran his hand through his hair, a gesture that was painfully familiar. Usually, this was how he showed powerlessness. Probably not, he agreed bitterly. Nothing can be changed. But I have to. I have to at least apologize. In front of you. There was silence. The distant hum of cars came from behind the trees. I caught my breath, trying to maintain my composure. Apologize? I repeated in a slightly different voice. For what exactly, Ryan? For everything, he answered immediately, and there was bitterness in his voice. For everything I caused you. I wanted to apologize so many times, but I didn't know how to find the right words or even the right. After that night. He paused, collecting his thoughts. After that night, when everything collapsed, I was scared of myself. I was afraid of how basely I betrayed you. You ran away from me in tears, and I understood that I had no forgiveness. He ran his hand over his face, and I saw how much his fingers were trembling. I knocked on your door, I remember. I even wrote you a note. And then I left. He ran away because he was a coward. I decided that it would be better this way to give you time, to give myself time to figure it out. And yet, I simply gave up. I didn't have the courage to stay and face your pain. I didn't have the strength to see the hatred in your eyes. I went on tour, but I didn't live a single day in peace. Every fucking day I thought about you. I drank, played concert after concert, woke up in a cold sweat from nightmares where you cry. In general, I completely lost my mind. The guys from the group already wanted to kick me back to life. But I still couldn't bring myself to dial your number. I was afraid to hear that you would send me away or that you would be better off without me. A month passed, then another. Then I heard that you quit your job and moved. Emily told my friend, and she told me. I realized that I had completely lost you, that you cut me out of your life. He spoke hastily, as if he was afraid that I would interrupt and the words would remain unsaid. I was silent, stunned by his revelation. I never thought that he would even think about my feelings after he left. But his eyes, there was pain in them as he continued. In general, I screwed up everything, Sophia, and my life went downhill. We then spent another year touring, but all this was no longer important. It didn't turn out to be much of a success, to be honest. I ruined everything myself because I didn't care. We parted ways with the guys, and I hit it hard. He smiled bitterly. Imagine, it ended up that I went through rehabilitation for drunkenness. Yes, I have fallen so low, and all because I once betrayed the girl most dear to me in the world, and I couldn't forgive myself. I was shaking at his words. I didn't expect such recognition. Yes, he looked changed. But to that extent, rehabilitation, drunkenness, pity stirred in my soul, despite the anger that I had carried for so long. But along with pity, indignation also grew. He spoke about his torment and me. There was a pause. The silence was broken only by our intermittent breaths. Finally, he looked up at me, full of suffering. I understand that this does not atone for my guilt, but I want you to know I punished myself completely. And if you can ever forgive me, he paused, biting his lip, that would make my life easier. I was silent, catching my breath. My head was buzzing. Ryan lowered his eyes. Apologizing isn't enough, I finally said, trying to remain firm. You just disappeared, Ryan. I had to bury you inside me as if you were dead. Do you know what happened to me after that? My voice broke and I fell silent, swallowing the lump that had come up. My throat was sore from unshed tears. Ryan turned his body towards me, panic flashing in his eyes. Sophia. He stepped closer, but I raised my hand, stopping him. No, let me. I took a deep breath, gathering my courage. Are you asking what happened? I've been through hell, Ryan. After that night. After you. My voice trembled, and I had difficulty saying I was pregnant. He froze as if thunder had struck nearby. His eyes went wide. Pregnant? He breathed out, barely audible. The tears that I had been holding inside flowed out. I couldn't stop anymore. Yes, pregnant with your child. And you left me alone, I sobbed. The words either broke into a scream or were drowned in tears. I lost him. Understand, because of the stress, because of this whole nightmare, I had a miscarriage. Ryan felt like he had been struck by lightning. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. His face turned white, his eyes sparkled. God, Sophia, he finally whispered hoarsely. I didn't know. Lord, forgive me. He raised his hands as if he wanted to touch me, then pulled them away as if he didn't dare. I saw his lips tremble. You really. He swallowed. The child, our child. I sobbed, covering my face with my hands. Everything was swimming before my eyes with tears, but I continued to throw out the pain that I had been living inside for years. I wanted to tell you. I called. You weren't there. The sobs turned into convulsive breaths. You didn't even give me a chance. I was so scared. And you just weren't there. Sophia, soft, honey. He whispered, and the next moment I felt him pull me towards him. I didn't push him away, probably too tired to fight. His hugs were feverish and tremulous. I pressed my face to his chest and gave vent to sobs. He stroked my hair, whispered confusedly, I'm sorry, I'm a bastard. I didn't know, Lord. We stood like that under the trees, two broken people, separated by pain. I finally cried out what had been sitting inside me for years. His shirt was wet from my tears. I could hear his heart beating loudly under my ear. Finally, my sobs subsided. All that was left was weakness and devastation, and his arms strong, reliable around me. I felt a strange relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from my soul. Ryan pulled back slightly, looking into my face. Sorry, he repeated, wiping a tear from my cheek with his thumb. His eyes sparkled. He also cried, even if silently. If only I had known. I never would have. Damn, I have no excuse. There was so much pain and remorse in his gaze that I suddenly felt a pang of pity. Am I still capable of feeling sorry for him? I was silent, not knowing what to say, and our words needed now. He gently ran his hand over my cheek, removing a strand of hair that had stuck to my wet skin. From his touch, somewhere deep inside, I trembled, too familiar. I was suddenly acutely aware of how close he was standing, how his hands were still holding me. The warmth of his body penetrated through his clothes. Sophia, he whispered, and in his gaze there flashed the same old thing that made me dizzy before. I knew that look. Love, passion, a plea for forgiveness, everything was mixed up. For a moment, time turned back. We are the same two people who once stood on the bridge and kissed under the stars. My heart trembled. I hesitantly raised my hand and touched his face, running my fingertips along his sharp cheekbone. He closed his eyes at this touch, as if from pain and pleasure at once. I missed you so much. He breathed out and covered my hand with his. And the next moment his lips touched mine. I knew it was wrong. Somewhere at the edge of my consciousness there was a faint voice of reason. Don't do this. But he drowned in an avalanche of feelings. Ryan's kiss was timid at first, as if he was afraid that I would pull away, but when I responded, he moaned quietly and hugged me tighter. At that second, everything cracked: my pain, my duty, and the reality around me. All that remained were his lips, hot and greedy, and my hands, which naturally reached out to him, wrapping them around his neck. It was the same taste, haze and mint, the memory of which tormented me at night. My heart was jumping out of my chest. Soft, he whispered between kisses, pressing his forehead to mine. If this is a dream, let it last. I just responded with another kiss. I was shaking all over from adrenaline, from desire, from a revived feeling. I don't remember how we got to his apartment. Later, I vaguely remembered how he hailed a taxi and almost carried me in his arms because my legs were giving way from the madness that had gripped us. Inside the car, we could not tear ourselves away from each other. I caught his lips. He greedily kissed my neck. As soon as the door of his rented apartment slammed shut, we attacked each other with renewed vigor. Ryan pushed me against the wall with a hoarse groan, and I pulled off his jacket myself. We kissed as if we were trying to make up for all the years of separation in one night. Clothes fell to the floor. My jacket, his scarf, my sweater. He froze, helping me pull the sweater over my head, and pulled back for a moment to look at me. His eyes slid over my body, and I suddenly became embarrassed, remembering the forms that had changed during pregnancy. But in his gaze, I saw only delight and burning desire. "You're beautiful." He breathed out hoarsely, again pressing his lips to my heated skin. Then everything got mixed up in a whirlwind. His hands are all over my skin, careful and desperately greedy, my fingers digging into his back, our ragged breaths. We made it to the bed, almost tripping, and collapsed onto the soft mattress, not releasing our embrace. When he entered me, I bit my lip, holding back a cry. So many feelings surged at once that it seemed like I was drowning. He moved slowly at first, as if afraid to hurt me, but soon we were both overwhelmed by a long-forgotten passion. I dug my fingers into his shoulders, feeling his muscles tense. Each of his thrusts was felt as a wave of hot pleasure, mixed with attacks of almost painful tenderness. At some point, he whispered my name hoarsely, breaking down, and I caught his lips with a kiss, not allowing me to finish the words that could have destroyed everything. I didn't need confessions, just this madness, just to drown in it and forget myself. At some point, our bodies reached the top at the same time. I trembled in his arms, screaming, and he moaned muffledly into my neck, going limp. I felt his hot tears on my skin. Was he crying, or was it just my imagination? We did not let go of each other for a long time, remaining as one until our breathing calmed down. We made love for a long time, losing track of time, now hastily and passionately, as if hungry for each other, now freezing in long, tender caresses, as if trying to remember everything down to the smallest detail. And when, exhausted, we lay side by side in the twilight, I heard Ryan whisper, "Thank you. For this night. You can't even imagine how much I needed her." I didn't answer. I just pressed myself against his shoulder, trying not to think about anything. She closed her eyes. Somewhere in the depths of my consciousness, the thought wandered that in the morning reality would collapse with a crash, like the ceiling of an old house. But now, at this second, I didn't want to regret anything. I wake up to the gray morning light coming through the uncurtained window. For a moment, I don't know where I am. A strange room, clothes scattered on the floor. Reality hits like a cold shower. I'm at Ryan's apartment. Memories of the night poured out at once. Our crazy kisses, whispers, tears, hot hugs. My heart sank with conflicting feelings. Ryan sleeps next to him, half covered with a rumpled blanket. His face is calm, almost childishly serene. A lock of hair fell on his forehead. In the dim morning, he seems younger, more vulnerable. I carefully prop myself up on my elbow, afraid to wake him. I watch his chest rise and fall steadily. A small studio with shabby cream-colored walls. On the floor, mixed with our clothes, are an empty water bottle, a pair of packaged guitar strings, and someone's photograph in a cracked frame. In the corner, a guitar gleams with its lacquered side, leaning against an old amplifier. There's a Rolling Stones poster on the wall, its edges are worn. The room is cluttered, as if Ryan lives on the run. Next to a narrow closet, there is an open suitcase with things sticking out, and on a chair there is a stack of sheet music mixed with clothes. There is a strange silence inside. Neither the euphoria of the night, nor yesterday's rage, only quiet sadness and clarity. It was as if the water had settled after a storm, and the truth emerged like a drawing on glass. The truth is that my path is not with him. I look at him sleeping and try to sort out my feelings. Last night, it was like a cork was knocked out, releasing everything that had been nesting inside me for years. Pain, resentment, love, lust, regret mixed into one cocktail. Now that the storm has passed, I feel only devastation and quiet sadness. It doesn't hurt me. The pain remained there in the night, cried out to the bottom. But I don't feel happiness from this closeness either. This night was a mistake in the context of my current life, no doubt. I cheated on my husband, betrayed his trust. Just thinking about it makes me feel a wave of shame. If Alex found out, God, I can't even imagine what a blow it would be for him. He doesn't deserve this. Nobody deserves it. But can I call this night a mistake for myself? If it weren't for her, I would still live with an aching, unhealed wound inside. Only after experiencing everything again, I was able to finally close this chapter. The price may be too high. but the past cannot be changed. It remains to draw the right conclusions. How do I feel about Ryan now that I'm sober? I look at him, a once dear face, sweet features dear to my heart. I remember what delight he filled me with, what colors he gave to my life. A part of me will always love him, the Ryan he was in his best moments. But the man lying in front of me now is different. Exhausted, somewhat lost. Yes, he repented, but the scars of the past distorted both of us. And the main question, how do I feel about Alex? Everything here is clear as day. I love my husband. I love you with a deep, calm love that grew out of trust, care, and the difficulties we went through together. This love is different, not a flash of passion, but a reliable, warm light. And yesterday, having betrayed him, I almost extinguished this light. Now I will do everything to make it shine brighter. My home, my family is where Alex and our unborn child are. Yes, part of my heart will forever remain with the ghost of my first love. But that doesn't stop me from being true to what I have now. The main thing is to forgive yourself and never let the past overshadow the present again. I exhale quietly. The decision has been made final. I put my feet on the floor and pick up the scattered clothes. Jeans, jacket, underwear, everything is wrinkled. It smells of smoke and us. The eye catches a glimpse. On the nightstand next to the bed, there is a glass of water. During the night, the water evaporated by half, and small drops settled on the glass. Through them, the room is seen distortedly. The truth behind the glass. A strange phrase pops up in my head. It was as if all night my real life was somewhere behind a glass wall, blurry, distant. But now this fog is clearing. I found my bag near the door. Inside is a phone, several missed messages from Alex, and a message. How are you? The heart contracts, and a wedding ring. I took it out before leaving, not daring to put it on. Now the cold rim lies at the bottom of the bag, like a reproach. Lifting the ring with 2 fingers, I looked at it for a long time. Then I silently put it on my finger. My place is where this circle symbolizes infinity. There is a lump in my throat. I need to leave now, otherwise I won't be able to. I look around for a pen and paper. On a small table by the window, there are scattered sheets of music and a pencil. Carefully maneuvering between the creaky floorboards, I approach and take a blank sheet of paper and a pencil. I sit on the edge of the chair, using the hard surface of the table. The lines are hard. How to put everything you want to say into words. I look at the white sheet of paper for a long time, then I begin to write, trying to write the letters legibly. Ryan, I'm sorry I'm leaving like this without saying goodbye out loud, but I think it will be easier for both of us. Thank you for last night and evening. They helped me understand a lot. Our paths diverged 3 years ago, and no matter how bitter it is to admit it, they will not converge back. Yesterday, I saw the Ryan I once loved with all my heart, and I was finally able to let go of the pain that had lived inside me for so many years. Thank you for this. You asked if I could forgive you. I forgive you, from the bottom of my heart. But I have another life ahead of me in which you have no place. I will remember you as you were tonight, honest, loving, real. Let this bright image remain with me instead of bitter memories. Farewell, my failure, my departure. Be happy, I beg you. Sophia. My fingers tremble as I put the last point. The pencil left pale gray lines on the paper. It came out surprisingly calmly, although my heart was almost jumping out of my chest. I reread what I wrote. Tears blur my eyes, but I know it's right. I fold the sheet in half. I look around. On the table by the bed, there is an empty glass vase. I put the letter there, leaning it against the wall of the vase, and put a glass on top, the one with drops on the glass, so that the leaf does not fall. Now my words are literally behind glass. Ryan mumbles something in his sleep and moves slightly. I freeze, but he doesn't wake up. He just sighs calmly. I approach the bed for the last time. My heart aches. I carefully kneel down next to him. I want to kiss him goodbye, but I'm afraid to wake him up. Instead, I barely whisper, "Goodbye, my dear." He winces in his sleep, as if he hears an unclear sound. I lightly touch his tousled hair with my fingertips for one brief moment. Then I get up. It feels like my legs are filled with lead, but I force myself to get to the door. I quietly turn the lock and open it slightly. I turn around again. The morning light timidly gilds the edge of the bed on which sleeps the man who was once everything to me. On the table by the window, there is a sheet with my truth behind the glass. Be happy, I silently whisper with my lips and slip out the door. The lock clicks, separating me from the past. The stairwell greets me with silence. I quickly run downstairs as if afraid that I'm about to change my mind and come back. The yard is deserted. The cold morning air hits your hot face, sobering you up. Dawn breaks in the east, turning the sky above the brick buildings a pale pink. I stop for a second at the entrance, watching the first sun timidly lick the roofs of the houses. New day, new life. Wrapping my coat tightly around me, I walk away, taking out my phone as I go to call a taxi. I seem to be shaking, either from the cold or from overwhelming feelings. But with every step it becomes easier for me to breathe. I am moving towards my future, leaving the shadow of the past behind. The door to our apartment opens almost silently. I carefully turn the key, hoping to slip through quietly. The familiar aroma of home hits your nose, morning coffee mixed with a slight smell of pine needles from the aroma candle and the freshness of washed clothes. In the dim light of the corridor, familiar outlines flicker. Our hanger with neatly hung jackets, Alex's favorite sneakers by the shoe cabinet. Everything looks so normal and homely that the contrast with the chaos of the night cuts to the heart. But it's impossible to slip through unnoticed. Alex immediately appears in the hallway. Apparently, he heard the lock, and the time was late morning. He was clearly worried. "Sophia," he exclaims with obvious relief, and in 2 steps, he is nearby. Before I can say anything, he hugs me. Firmly, tenderly, as if he was afraid to let go. I bury my face in his shoulder, and my chest hurts painfully with shame and gratitude mixed together. "I'm sorry I didn't write," I whisper, hugging him back. "Everything was very chaotic." "Nothing, nothing. The main thing is that you're okay," he whispers hotly into my hair. "I thought about you all night. How's Emily? Did anything bother you, baby?" He pulls back just enough to look me in the face and rubs his hand over my stomach. There is concern and love in his eyes. A wave hits me. What have I done? And how I love him. "It's okay," I say quietly, trying not to let my voice tremble. "Everything is fine now." "You look tired, dear," he notes with tender concern, brushing a strand of hair from my forehead. "Let's go. I warmed up your breakfast. Then just rest, okay?" I nod, feeling tears well up in my throat. God, how happy I am to be back with him, and how painful it is to realize that I let him down. But only I know about this, and maybe God. Alex shouldn't have to suffer because of my mistakes. Warm oatmeal jelly and toast with cheese are already waiting for me in the kitchen, my favorite breakfast when I'm not feeling well. It turns out that he was afraid that I would catch a cold or be overtired at my friends. We sit at the table, and he gently asks about Emily, whether she managed to help, and if anything else happened. He leans slightly towards me, looking into my eyes. "How are you? You know, it seemed to me that you came back a little sad. Did anything like that happen there?" I look away. He is as perceptive as always. We need to calm him down. "No, no, everything's fine," I try to say as casually as possible. "I was just emotionally exhausted. Emily, she really felt very bad. I was worried about her." Alex nods understandingly and gently covers my hand with his palm. "You know, I'm always there," he says quietly. "If you suddenly want to talk or share something, I'm your best friend, remember. You can tell me everything." From these words, everything inside me breaks down. He speaks sincerely, with love and care, not suspecting what a flood is swirling in my soul. I have a hard time keeping my face calm. "I know, honey," I breathe, squeezing his hand. "Really, everything is fine. You just need to come to your senses a little." He smiles, clearly believing me, and once again I feel like the ultimate liar. But telling the truth means destroying everything we have. I can't let this happen. I would rather bear the burden of my sin alone than place such pain on his loving shoulders. After breakfast, he insists that I lie down, and while I doze in our bedroom, he sits quietly next to the laptop, working and looking at me half asleep. I feel his presence like a warm security blanket. When I woke up around lunchtime, I felt much better. Alex immediately brings me tea with rose hips, showers me with care and kisses. He seems overjoyed to have me around, and I'm joyful too. For the first time in a long time, my heart is truly at peace. In the afternoon, when Alex goes out to the store for a while, I unlock my phone to answer Emily's messages. She asks if everything worked out. I noticed another new message in the chat list. From Ryan. Breathing stops. This is a photograph. Just an image, no caption. I opened it. An old photo appears on the screen. I immediately recognize the moment. Ryan and I on the Manhattan Bridge 3 years ago on that first night. I laugh, shyly hiding in his jacket. He is nearby, disheveled by the wind, smiling at the camera. Then he persuaded me to take a selfie as a souvenir. I didn't even think he saved the photo. I looked at us before for a long time. Young, carefree, in love, and believing that it will always be this way. Hot tears come to my eyes, but I smile through them brightly, without pain. Goodbye, I whisper to the photographs of the past. And I click delete. The image disappears and the screen goes blank. At that moment, I feel invisible shackles falling from my soul. The past has completely let me go. Yes, the scar will remain, but it will no longer bleed. I return to the living room, where Alex should appear any minute. Our family photo on the shelf greets me with happy smiles. Last Christmas, lights, my husband, and I laughing, hugging. There are glittering figurines on the windowsill. Yesterday, we took out a box of Christmas decorations, planning to decorate the tree this weekend. There is a faint aroma of cinnamon in the air. Before I left, I lit a candle with the scent of gingerbread, but now it has gone out, leaving a subtle, cozy trail. The front door opens, letting in the cold December air and my beloved. I'm going out to meet you. How did you sleep? He asks, taking off his jacket. Yes, great. I smile and come up, throwing my arms around his neck. I suddenly want to cry again, but this time from happiness. You know, thank you. He raises his eyebrows in surprise, but immediately smiles, hugging me to him. For what, stupid? Because I have you, I say, looking into his eyes. For making me happy. Alex gets embarrassed and laughs, kissing me on the nose. You're quite a philosopher today, he teases affectionately. Thanks to Emily, or what? One more night at a friend's, and you'll thank me for everything in the world. I smile sadly and shake my head, snuggling into his chest. No, not Emily. Destiny. For yourself. And perhaps even Ryan for teaching me a lesson to appreciate the present. My hand rests on top of his on my stomach. Our baby moved quietly inside, as if reminding us of himself. A wave of tenderness covers me. I love you, I whisper. And I, you, Alex answers, and I hear the smile in his voice. I close my eyes, taking in the moment. New days await us ahead, full of worries about the baby, ordinary, and maybe not always cloudless. But I know one thing, I'm ready for them. I became stronger, wiser. I accepted my past and myself with all my mistakes. Happiness was nearby, alive, warm, real, and I'm no longer afraid that the ice under my feet will crack. Because under the thin crust of old fears, I finally found solid ground, the love that I myself allowed to envelop me. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think, click to the next one.